Dr. Emma Blake wiped the sweat from her forehead as she knelt in the red dirt of Arcturus 7. The twin suns blazed overhead, making the ancient ruins shimmer like a mirage. She had been digging here for 3 weeks, and the Galactic Council still insisted this was nothing more than old rocks arranged by primitive beings. "Professor Blake, you need to see this right now," called Tom Harrison from across the excavation site. His voice carried an excitement that made Emma drop her scanning device and hurry toward him. Tom stood before what looked like a smooth wall of black stone, but Emma's trained eye immediately noticed something the Council's initial survey had missed. The surface wasn't rough like natural rock. Instead, it showed the subtle patterns of advanced manufacturing, with lines too straight and angles too perfect for anything made by primitive hands. "When did you find this?" Emma asked, pulling out her scanner. "About 10 minutes ago. I was clearing away the debris when I noticed these markings." Tom pointed to symbols etched into the black surface. They glowed with a faint blue light that pulsed in a steady rhythm, like a sleeping heartbeat. Dr. James Fletcher, their team's xenobiologist, jogged over from his own dig site. "What's all the excitement about?" he asked, then stopped dead when he saw the wall. "Those symbols, they're not in any database I know." Emma ran her scanner along the surface and watched the readings spike beyond anything she had ever seen. "The energy levels are incredible. This isn't just a wall. It's some kind of sealed entrance." She pressed her hand against one of the glowing symbols, and the reaction was immediate. The blue light spread outward from her touch, racing along hidden channels in the stone. The 3 humans stepped back as a low humming filled the air, growing louder by the second. "Maybe we should contact the Council first," James suggested nervously. "And tell them what? That we found a door?" Emma shook her head. "They already think we're wasting time and resources here. We need proof." The humming stopped, replaced by a grinding sound of massive machinery that had not moved for thousands of years. Slowly, impossibly, the wall began to split down the middle. Ancient mechanisms groaned and squealed as the two halves slid apart, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. Cool air flowed out of the opening, carrying scents of metal and ozone that spoke of advanced technology. Emma's scanner went crazy, detecting energy sources deeper in the structure that registered beyond its maximum settings. "My God," whispered Tom. "How old is this place?" Emma consulted her geological scanner. "The surrounding rock formations are at least 50,000 years old. But this technology..." She shook her head in amazement. "It's more advanced than anything we have today." They activated their helmet lights and stepped into the corridor. The walls were lined with the same black material as the door, but here the glowing symbols covered every surface in intricate patterns. As they walked deeper, the symbols began to pulse faster, as if the structure was waking up. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took Emma's breath away. Towering crystalline spires rose from the floor, each one humming with contained energy. Conduits of living light connected the spires in a complex web that covered the entire ceiling. And in the center of it all stood a control platform surrounded by holographic displays that flickered to life as they approached. "This is impossible," James breathed. "The Council said this planet never developed advanced civilization." "The Council was wrong," Emma replied, studying the holographic displays. The images showed star charts, mathematical equations, and technical diagrams that made her engineering background tingle with recognition. "These aren't just ruins. This is a fully functional facility." Tom moved closer to one of the crystalline spires and held up his scanner. The energy output from just one of these could power Earth's largest cities for months. What were they using all this power for? Emma found her answer when she approached the central control platform. The holographic displays responded to her presence, shifting to show new images that made her blood run cold. Detailed schematics of weapons systems filled the air around her. Defensive grids that could protect entire planets. Ships that could move faster than light without traditional drives. And at the center of it all, an artificial intelligence system more sophisticated than humanity's greatest achievements. "Emma, look at this," James called from across the chamber. He stood before another holographic display showing what looked like a galactic map. Red markers indicated dozens of star systems, including several that Emma recognized as current hegemony territories. "It's a military installation," she realized aloud. Whoever built this was preparing for war on a galactic scale. As if responding to her words, the chamber's lighting increased. More displays came online, showing tactical analyses, fleet movements, and battle strategies. The facility was fully awakening after millennia of sleep. Then everything went wrong. A piercing alarm filled the chamber, and new holograms appeared showing real-time images of space around Arcturus 7. The automated systems had detected their presence and activated an ancient defense protocol. A powerful signal burst from the facility, broadcasting across the galaxy before Emma could stop it. What just happened? Tom asked, watching the transmission ripple outward through hyperspace. Emma's face went pale as she read the translation protocols. It just announced to every civilization in the sector that we've found advanced military technology here. Every warlord, every expansionist empire, every treasure hunter in 100 light years just learned about this place. The holographic displays were already showing the results. Ships were changing course throughout the galaxy, all heading toward Arcturus 7. And leading the pack was a massive hegemony fleet under the command of Rex Blackwood, a name that made Emma's hands clench into fists. "We need to evacuate immediately," James said, panic creeping into his voice. Emma stared at the approaching fleets, then at the weapon systems surrounding her. Her mind raced through possibilities, calculations, and half-formed plans. The galaxy was about to descend on this peaceful planet like vultures, and there was nowhere to run. "No," she said quietly. "We're not leaving." Commander Rex Blackwood stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devastator, watching the star charts update with incoming intelligence reports. The automated signal from Arcturus 7 had reached his fleet 3 hours ago, and the translation was clear enough to make him smile with anticipation. Ancient weapons technology discovered. Coordinates follow. Immediate investigation required. Rex had built his reputation on seizing opportunities like this. While other commanders wasted time with proper procedures and council approvals, he acted fast and claimed the prizes. His fleet of 52 ships was already the largest in this sector, and with whatever weapons waited on Arcturus 7, he could expand his territory even further. "Sir, we're approaching the target system," reported his tactical officer, a nervous young man named Peters. "Initial scans show minimal defenses. A few research vessels and some scattered settlements on the planet's surface." Rex studied the tactical display with satisfaction. 3 small human research ships orbited the planet alongside some primitive native vessels. On the surface, thermal imaging showed a human archaeological camp and several small towns belonging to the local population. No military installations, no defense platforms, no sign of any real threat. "How many humans are down there?" Rex asked. "Approximately 25 in the research expedition, sir. The native population appears to be around 50,000. Spread across multiple settlements." Rex nodded approvingly. The natives would make excellent workers for his mining operations, and 25 humans posed no threat whatsoever. He had crushed entire worlds with populations in the millions. "Open a communication channel to the human research station," he commanded. The main screen flickered to life, showing a woman in her 30s with brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her clothes were dusty from excavation work, and she looked tired but alert. The name tag on her field vest read, "Drive E. Blake." "This is Commander Rex Blackwood of the Hegemony War Fleet," he announced in his most intimidating voice. "You are in violation of Hegemony territorial claims. State your business here." The woman's expression remained calm, which surprised Rex slightly. Most civilians trembled when facing his fleet, but this Dr. Blake seemed almost calculating. "Commander Blackwood," she replied evenly. "I'm Dr. Emma Blake, lead archaeologist for this expedition. We're conducting research on the ancient ruins here under proper Galactic Council authorization. Your authorization is no longer valid. This system now falls under hegemony control." Rex leaned forward in his command chair. "You have exactly 1 hour to pack your equipment and leave. After that, anyone remaining on the surface will be considered hostile." Dr. Blake tilted her head slightly. "And what about the native population? This is their home world." Rex's smile turned cold. "They'll be relocated to facilities where they can contribute more effectively to galactic civilization. The hegemony has great need for manual laborers in our mining colonies." "I see." Blake's voice remained steady, but something flickered in her eyes. "And if we refuse to abandon our research? Then you'll share their fate, Dr. Blake. Though I seriously doubt that one human archaeologist and her small team pose any real threat to my fleet." Blake nodded slowly as if considering his words carefully. "You're probably right, Commander. We're just scientists after all. We'll begin evacuation procedures immediately." "Excellent. I do so prefer it when people are reasonable." Rex cut the transmission and turned to his officers. "Assign the patrol ship Reaper to monitor the human site. Make sure they actually leave. The rest of the fleet will begin pacification operations on the native settlements. Captain Morris, his second-in-command, stepped forward. Sir, shouldn't we investigate the source of that signal first? The one about ancient weapons. Rex waved dismissively. Once we secure the planet, we'll have all the time we need to dig through whatever junk the primitives left behind. The real value here is in the population and mining rights. As his ships moved into attack formation above the planet, Rex felt the familiar satisfaction of another easy conquest. The humans would run back to their safe little colonies, the natives would submit after a show of force, and he would claim whatever ancient technology had triggered that signal. He watched through the viewports as his assault ships descended toward the largest native city. Energy weapons lit up the twilight sky as they fired warning shots over the settlements. This was always Rex's favorite part. The moment when a proud civilization realized it had no choice but to surrender. Sir, the human archaeological site has gone dark, reported Peters from his station. No more communications and their ships appear to be powering down. Good. They know better than to interfere. Rex turned his attention to the tactical display showing his forces surrounding the native cities. What's the status on planetary pacification? Proceeding smoothly, sir. The natives have no significant weapons. Their most advanced technology appears to be basic energy tools for construction and farming. Rex nodded with satisfaction. Within a few hours he would control another world and its population. The ancient signal that had drawn him here was probably nothing more than some old computer system activating by accident. These archaeological types were always getting excited about broken pottery and rusted metal. On the planet's surface, his sensors showed the human camp had indeed gone completely silent. No energy signatures, no movement, no signs of life. Dr. Blake and her team had apparently taken his advice and fled quickly. It never occurred to Rex that silence might be more dangerous than noise, or that a human archaeologist might know more about warfare than she let on. As his ships moved into their final positions around Arcturus 7, he had no idea that Emma Blake was watching every move from deep beneath the planet's surface, surrounded by weapons technology that made his entire fleet look like children's toys. The trap was set and Rex Blackwood was walking straight into it. Deep beneath the surface of Arcturus 7, Emma Blake worked with steady hands despite the chaos erupting above her head. The ancient chamber hummed with increasing energy as she connected her portable computer to the alien control systems. Through the facility's sensors, she could see hegemony ships raining fire on the native cities, their weapons lighting up the night sky like deadly fireworks. Emma, the settlements are taking heavy damage, Tom called from his monitoring station. The natives are requesting immediate assistance. Their shields won't hold much longer. Emma's fingers never stopped moving across the holographic controls. I know, Tom. Give me 2 more minutes. Dr. James Fletcher looked up from his analysis console, sweat beading on his forehead. These alien systems are incredible, but I can't figure out how they work. The technology seems to adapt and change on its own, like it's alive. That's exactly what it does, Emma replied, stepping back as the first weapons platform came fully online. The crystalline spire beside her pulsed with brilliant light, and she could feel the power coursing through the facility's conduits. Tom, there's something I need to tell you about my background. Tom turned from his console, confusion on his face. What do you mean? Emma took a deep breath. My official record says I'm Dr. Emma Blake, xenoarchaeologist with 15 years of field experience. But before I became an archaeologist, I spent 8 years with Earth Defense Corps Advanced Weapons Division. The 2 men stared at her in shock. James was the first to find his voice. You were military? Not just military. I was the lead engineer on the Adaptive Weapons Project during the Soul Wars. Remember the Siege of Mars? When the enemy had us completely surrounded and our conventional weapons were useless. Tom nodded slowly. The adaptive missile systems. They said those weapons learned from every battle, evolved to counter enemy defenses. I designed them. Emma gestured to the awakening alien technology around them. These systems work on the same basic principles, but they're thousands of years more advanced. Where our missiles could adapt to new threats, this technology integrates with foreign systems to create something entirely new. The chamber shook as another hegemony bombardment struck the planet's surface. Emma's hybrid interface showed her the exact position of every enemy ship, their weapon signatures, their communication frequencies. The alien systems were already learning from the attack patterns, preparing countermeasures. Commander Blackwood thinks he's fighting archaeologists and frightened natives, Emma said quietly. He has no idea he's facing someone who spent years designing weapons to kill ships exactly like his. A new alert appeared on her display. The patrol ship Reaper was moving toward their position, its scanners probing the area where their research camp used to be. Emma smiled coldly. Time for their first lesson. She touched a series of symbols on the control interface, and the response was immediate. Crystalline spires erupted from the ground around the approaching hegemony ship, rising from the planet's crust like giant fingers. The structures generated a powerful electromagnetic field that wrapped around the Reaper, overwhelming its shields and shorting out its weapon systems in seconds. "My God," whispered Tom, watching the enemy ship spiral down toward a crash landing. "How did you do that?" "The original builders of this facility were preparing for a galactic war," Emma explained, her hands moving across new control surfaces that materialized in response to her thoughts. "They created weapons that could adapt to any threat, learn from any enemy tactic. But they needed someone who understood both their technology and modern warfare to activate the systems properly." Through the facility's sensors, she watched hegemony assault troops scrambling out of the crashed ship. They would find nothing but empty ruins at her old research camp. Meanwhile, she was 40 feet underground, surrounded by weapons that could tear apart their entire fleet. "The aliens who built this place thought like human engineers," Emma continued, bringing more defensive systems online. "They understood that the best weapons aren't the biggest or most powerful ones. They're the ones that think, adapt, and surprise your enemies." James stared at the tactical displays showing hegemony ships in orbit. "Can you really fight an entire fleet with this?" "I'm not going to fight them, James. I'm going to teach them why humans are so dangerous." Emma's fingers danced across the controls, and throughout the chamber, crystalline spires began to glow brighter. "You see, Rex Blackwood has a problem. He's fighting the last war, using tactics that worked against other species. But humans don't fight the same way twice." On the display, she watched the hegemony commander reposition his ships in a standard orbital bombardment formation. It was exactly what she had expected. Rex was following the same playbook he had used against dozens of other worlds, never realizing that someone was studying his every move. "During the Soul Wars, I analyzed hundreds of enemy battle formations," Emma explained. "I know how military minds work, especially overconfident ones. Blackwood thinks he's in control, but he's actually following a script I wrote years ago." The alien weapons systems responded to her commands with eager precision. Energy conduits throughout the facility pulsed with increasing power as thousands of years of dormant technology awakened to her touch. The chamber filled with holographic displays showing weapon trajectories, shield frequencies, and tactical analyses that updated in real time. "Emma," Tom said softly, "what exactly are you planning to do?" Emma looked at the orbital positions of the hegemony fleet, then at the weapon systems surrounding her. For the first time since the attack began, she smiled. "I'm going to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate a human engineer with access to weapons that make our best technology look like stone knives and bear skins." Above them, Rex Blackwood had no idea that his prey had just become his hunter. Commander Rex Blackwood stared at his tactical display in growing disbelief. Red warning lights flashed across his bridge as another ship icon disappeared from the screen. In the past 2 hours, he had lost 8 ships to an enemy that shouldn't exist. "Report," he barked at his tactical officer, Peters, who was frantically working at his console. "Sir, the attacks are coming from everywhere," Peters replied, his voice shaking. "Crystalline weapons are emerging from the planet's surface, targeting our ships with perfect accuracy. Energy beams that somehow change frequency to match our shield harmonics. And some kind of gravitational manipulation that's literally tearing our vessels apart." Rex watched in horror as the heavy cruiser Dominator broke into 3 pieces, its hull crushed by invisible forces that his sensors couldn't even detect. The crew's distress signals cut off abruptly as the ship's remains tumbled toward the planet's atmosphere. "What about our ground forces? The ones securing the native settlements?" Captain Morris stepped forward, sweat visible on his forehead. "They're reporting impossible resistance, sir. The natives suddenly have weapons that adapt to our tactics faster than we can change them. Every time our troops try a new approach, the enemy somehow knows exactly how to counter it. This is impossible." Rex slammed his fist on his command console. 2 hours ago, this planet had no defenses at all. Our scans showed nothing but primitive settlements and archaeological ruins. On the main screen, another explosion lit up the darkness as the patrol ship Hunter dissolved under a barrage of energy beams that seemed to bend around its defensive shields. The weapons struck with surgical precision, hitting the ship's most vulnerable points as if the attackers knew exactly where to aim. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," his communications officer announced. "Put it through," Rex ordered. Dr. Emma Blake's face appeared on the screen, but she looked completely different from their first conversation. Gone was the dusty archaeologist in field clothes. Now she wore a military-style uniform, and her eyes held the cold calculation of a veteran warrior. Behind her, alien technology pulsed with deadly light. "Hello again, Commander Blackwood," she said calmly. "I thought you should know that I've been analyzing your tactical patterns. Your victory at Proxima Centauri in 2387, your siege of the Tau Ceti colonies, that brilliant flanking maneuver you used at Wolf 359. Rex felt ice forming in his stomach. "How do you know about those battles?" "I was there, Rex. Earth Defense Corps, 15th Engineering Battalion. I'm the one who designed the countermeasures that broke your blockade of the outer colonies." Emma's smile was sharp as a blade. "You probably don't remember me, but I certainly remember you." The tactical display showed another ship falling to the planet's impossible defenses. The cruiser Vengeance tried to escape the system, but crystalline spears erupted from the planet's surface, stretching across thousands of kilometers to pierce its engines with impossible accuracy. "You see, the problem with being predictable is that someone is always taking notes," Emma continued. "These alien weapons learn faster than anything we've ever built. And I've been teaching them everything I know about hegemony battle tactics." Rex watched helplessly as his carefully planned orbital formation crumbled under attacks that seemed to anticipate his every move. Every time he ordered his ships to change position, the enemy weapons were already waiting for them. Every defensive strategy he tried had already been countered before he could implement it. "You wanted ancient technology, Commander? Congratulations, you found it." The transmission ended, leaving Rex staring at a tactical situation that made no sense. His remaining ships were scattered across the system, trying desperately to avoid weapons that struck from impossible angles. Energy beams bent around asteroids to hit their targets. Gravitational fields reached across space to crush his vessels like tin cans. "Sir, request permission to retreat," Captain Morris said quietly. "Retreat? We have 40 ships left. One human woman cannot." "She's not just one woman, sir," Peters interrupted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Look at the attack patterns." Rex studied the display more carefully and felt his blood turn cold. The attacks weren't random. They followed a precise sequence, designed to isolate his ships and destroy them one by one. Every assault was perfectly timed to prevent his forces from supporting each other. "It's like she knows exactly what we're going to do before we do it," Morris observed. Another ship exploded on the screen, the destroyer Relentless, caught in a gravitational web that compressed it into a ball of twisted metal. Rex realized with growing horror that Emma Blake wasn't just fighting his fleet. She was hunting them like animals, using weapons and tactics that turned his own experience against him. "All ships, emergency retreat protocol," he shouted. "Jump to hyperspace immediately." "Sir, we can't," Peters reported. "Something is jamming our hyperspace drives. The entire system appears to be locked down." Rex stared at the tactical display as the truth hit him. This wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Emma Blake had turned the entire planet into a weapon, and she was using it to systematically destroy his fleet with the cold precision of an engineer solving a technical problem. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked quietly. 16, sir. And the number keeps dropping." Rex watched another icon disappear from his screen as the battleship Conquest was torn apart by forces that defied every law of physics he understood. Somewhere on the planet below, a human archaeologist was using alien technology to demonstrate why his species had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous warriors. The hunt was almost over and Rex Blackwood was running out of places to hide. The bridge of the Devastator shook violently as another crystalline spear punched through its armor plating. Commander Rex Blackwood crawled across the tilted deck, trying to reach his command console while sparks rained down from damaged systems overhead. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows through the smoke-filled bridge. Of his original 52 ships, only his flagship remained. Emma Blake had systematically destroyed his entire fleet over the course of 6 hours, turning what should have been an easy conquest into a nightmare that would haunt him for the rest of his very short life. "Sir," called his communications officer weakly from where he lay trapped under a fallen support beam. "Incoming transmission from the surface." The main screen flickered to life through the static and damage, showing Emma Blake one final time. She stood in the alien command chamber, surrounded by pulsing crystalline spires and holographic displays that showed the destruction of his fleet in perfect detail. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful. "Hello, Rex," she said, using his first name with casual familiarity that made his skin crawl. "I want you to understand something before you die. This was never about defending Arcturus 7. This was about making sure no one in the hegemony ever learns what humanity is really capable of. Rex struggled to his feet, clutching his injured arm. You planned this? From the very beginning you planned this. The archaeological expedition was completely real, Emma replied. But when that ancient beacon activated and I saw your fleet approaching, I realized we had a perfect opportunity. You see, the galaxy thinks humans are soft academics and diplomats. They believe we're too civilized for real warfare. They have no idea that we've been preparing for this conflict since the day we first reached the stars. The ship groaned and twisted as gravitational forces began tearing it apart piece by piece. Rex felt the artificial gravity failing, and loose objects started floating around the bridge. Your fleet's destruction will be blamed on unknown alien defenses, Emma continued. The hegemony will assume the natives had hidden weapons that they activated when threatened. They'll never suspect that one human engineer could turn their own tactical superiority against them. The Galactic Council will investigate, Rex gasped, trying to maintain his dignity even as his ship died around him. They'll send teams to study what happened here. With what evidence? Rex, you're not thinking clearly. There aren't going to be any survivors to tell them what really happened. Rex's eyes widened as the full implication hit him. She hadn't just destroyed his fleet, she had made sure every single ship was eliminated. No escape pods had made it to hyperspace. No distress signals had reached other hegemony forces. His entire battle group would simply disappear without a trace. You're a monster, he whispered. Emma's expression didn't change. I'm a human, Rex. We don't start fights but we always finish them. And we learn from every enemy we face. The transmission flickered as the Devastator's systems failed. Through the static, Rex could see Emma turning back to her alien controls, already focusing on her next task. The problem with your species, she said without looking at the camera, is that you never really studied us. You looked at our art, our philosophy, our diplomacy, and you decided we were weak. You never bothered to examine our wars. The screen went dark as the ship's main power failed. Rex found himself floating in emergency lighting, surrounded by the groans of metal being twisted beyond its limits. Through the bridge viewports, he could see the planet below, peaceful and beautiful, giving no sign of the terrible weapons hidden beneath its surface. In those final moments, Rex understood what Emma Blake had really accomplished. She hadn't just destroyed a fleet, she had sent a message that would never be delivered. The hegemony would continue to underestimate humanity because they would never learn what happened to Battle Group Dominator. The Devastator broke apart in sections, its crew compartments spinning away into the void. Rex's last thought was a bitter recognition that he had been outmaneuvered from the very beginning by someone who understood warfare better than he ever had. Hours later, Emma stood in the ancient command chamber, typing a coded message on her personal communicator. The alien technology hummed quietly around her, now permanently integrated with human adaptive systems in ways that neither species could have achieved alone. Mission accomplished, she wrote using her old Defense Core encryption codes. Package delivered to customer as requested. Product performance exceeded all expectations. Customer satisfaction guaranteed. No complaints will be filed. Ready for next deployment. She sent the message through quantum channels to Earth Command, then deleted all traces from her system. The message would reach the right people, who would understand that humanity had just gained access to weapons technology beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Tom and James emerged from the deeper sections of the facility, carrying relief supplies for the native settlements. The hegemony bombardment had caused significant damage to several cities, but the casualties were surprisingly light thanks to the planetary defense systems. What happens now? Tom asked, looking around at the alien technology. Emma smiled as she watched the holographic displays showing peaceful orbital space around Arcturus 7. Now we help our friends rebuild their cities. We continue our archaeological research. And we wait for the next group of bullies who think humans are easy targets. She didn't mention that similar ancient facilities existed on dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, all waiting for human engineers to wake them up. The hegemony would continue to expand, conquering world after world, never realizing that humanity was already 3 steps ahead of them. After all, the best weapons were always the ones your enemy never saw coming.